Nawam. All praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh. Ba'asham Yahawashai, Ba'asham Racha Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Kian. And it's another video once again going into the Christian church, and this is what exactly Christian that you can clearly see from. If you look at the screen, another one of these Christians that believe that they've got the I want to say catch 22, but basically they've got the a big they got a statement. They found something against our doctrine and what we teach. Oh, black Hebrew Israelites. Okay, and of course they're using that term black, and we are not the black Hebrew Israelites, we are simply the Hebrew Israelites. But they say they believe they found something that us the Hebrew Israelites cannot answer. They found a precept or a loophole in what we teach, a hole in what we teach, in order to use to disprove the doctrine. Which of course, these wacky-tacky Christians, they do it all the time. Every once in a while, you hear one Christian pop up and say, "Oh well, the Hebrew Israelites can't answer this question." Okay, and when you hear the question, you find out that it is actually something that brothers have done multiple videos on. Okay, where there is extensive videos going deep into the answer to that question. And this is what these Christians do. They are basically redundant, man. Instead of actually studying, actually going into the scriptures, the prophecies, and the history, what they'll do is, they'll just find a statement, or they'll just make up a statement, or make up a philosophy or a doctrine and start using that and start running with that. And this is exactly what these Christians are doing here. So let's hear what the black Hebrew Israelites cannot answer. Okay.
All right, Port City. Do you have any question, brother?
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
I like your background, man. Love your back.
So like, you're not Christians this time, but Egyptologists. But it's all the same. It's all the same at the end of the day. Well, you can make the argument that a lot of the doctrines in the Christian church goes back to Egyptology. But I should just make it clear, it's not a Christian in this case, but all these Kemet Egyptologists. Okay.
Loving the background.
Thank y'all for having me on the panel tonight. I appreciate everybody on here. I just got a question. Where do we find the Hebrew culture in West Africa?
Good question.
That's all. That is it right there. But let's just think. Let's continue. So get all the question in context.
Before European had contact with us, and where do we find the Hebrew culture in the early Americas and in South America and the Caribbeans? Where does that culture transfer from Africa and get taken over? Like, I haven't seen it. I've seen Yoruba, Igbo, I've seen this.
Let me go back a little bit. So okay, I'm getting this excited. Once you just quickly go into it, but let me just go back and let me see what you said again.
Transfer from Africa and get taken over. Like, I haven't seen it. I've seen Yoruba, Igbo. I've seen several Vodun. I just don't see any presence of Hebrew. Can somebody answer that for me?
Yeah.
All right. So what he asked was, where is the evidence of a Hebrew Israelite culture in the Americas, right, in the Northern Kingdom, and in West Africa with the Southern Kingdom, even before Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the so-called red man, Salakia, came into these lands, which of course, like I said, brothers have done extensive videos going into the details of this, okay? When you had the Elder Malkama, for example, he had a whole book about the records that, Esau kept, but of course, he said before Esau came, but the records that Esau kept proving that, the Native American Indians, Gad, and the Latinos as well, how they had customs that go back to the land of Israel. They spoke in a broken Hebrew, right? And to this day, you have the Los Lunas stones in Mexico that have the I believe there's also a Decaphlage stone or something like that has the Ten Commandments written in the Paleo Hebrew that predates, Esau, Edom, okay, coming into the Americas, and that's just one example of it. And of course the Hebrew customs that the Native American Indians kept even before Esau, Edom came into their lands, and he did what he did. And of course, we also have Deuteronomy 28 that clearly tells, sorry, not Deuteronomy 28, Genesis 49 that clearly tells you that, that clearly gives you the the prophecies of what our people will be doing in the last days. And also Deuteronomy 28 that gives you the causes and who are the people that those causes fit. And that is who you or how you will know who the Israelites are, okay? But like I said, multiple videos have been done on this, multiple videos detailing the different customs that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians kept that goes back to the land of Israel. The proof that they are the Israelites according to the Bible by history, by their customs, and even using biblical prophecy. So all the angles are covered. But yet, every once in a while you have a Christian, an Egyptologist, and basically all these scoffers and mockers that come against this truth, and they'll ask these stupid questions. Okay, questions that have already been answered. All you have to do is just go into the search bar and type it down, which is exactly what I did. I didn't even do too much. I just typed in Hebrew Israelites first article, and that's what we found, HebrewIgbo.com. And here is the cultural evidence that proves that, the Igbos, which is the way that you pronounced it, okay, which of course is showing right there that the word Igbo actually goes back to the word Ibar, right? Ibar, which means Hebrew in the which means Hebrew in actual Hebrew. That's where you get the word Hebrew from. And it goes without saying, and it is very, it is extensively researched and talked about, well documented, that the Igbo people here in Nigeria, which of course, that is the tribe that I'm from here in Nigeria, but the Igbo people, our bloodline goes back to the land of Israel. And, the vast majority of the Igbo people here in Nigeria do believe that they are, Israel, that they are Israelites, okay? I won't say the Israeli, but that they are Israelites and their line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And even if you go into the origin of the Igbo people, it's the exact same thing, which of course you will read all of that here. And these are all the customs, okay, all the traditions, okay, that were kept by the Igbo people, and conversely the Yoruba people as well, okay, because the Igbo and the Yoruba, they had this a lot of the same customs that were kept by them long before Esau Edom came into West Africa and started the transatlantic slave trade. And let's also not forget that when Esau came into West Africa and started the transatlantic slave trade, what he found was that a lot of the Jake here in West Africa, because they still had those customs, were circumcised, okay, which is the custom that is exclusive to Israel. The same the same the covenant of circumcision which the Most High Yahweh Basham Yahushai gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and his children, right? You will circumcise your child, and let's get that. They will circumcise your child on the 8th day. So let's get that. And it's actually the 8th day that. Let's see if I can find that. Let's see if I can find that. That should be a law. All right, so this is the book of Genesis 17 verse 9. And the Most High Yahweh Basham Yahushai said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations, he that is born in that house, or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed, he that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with the money must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And that is the custom of circumcision, and it goes back all the way to Abraham. And you have, and even before Esau, Edom. And this is all the evidence you need, okay? And brothers have gone into this extensively, multiple brothers done multiple videos, and even I myself as well, all the customs that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, all the customs that are people, wherever they were scattered into, even though they were, even though basically we are discontinued from our heritage, and we had forgotten most of, we had forgotten ourselves and who we were, as the scriptures had said, okay. But even the scriptures tell you that, and let's get that. There it is. So this is the book of Romans 2 verse 14. For when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these have not the law, are a law unto themselves, which shew the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the mean, while accusing or else excusing one another. And that's right. So even though our people were discontinued from our heritage, we still had the law or some parts of the law in our memory, okay? And we became a law unto ourselves, which is why you see that, every once in a while, sometimes you have Jake that even though they don't, they don't believe in the truth, they don't know the truth, they don't know the Most High, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh, or their heritage, they still keep so many of the customs according to the scriptures. But anyway, back to this article right here. That's why you have some jigs that actually don't eat pork. You have some jigs that never commit adultery. You have some jigs that that keep all kinds of that keep all or some parts of the law. Okay, so now let's get into this. Now Hebrew.com cultural evidence, and it reads: a good detective in sniffing out the truth must pay close attention to body language and culture of a people. This also may give away a person's origins. For example, Germans often uncovered American spies by the way they counted on their fingers, where the use of the thumb comes in. By the way people act, you can usually guess with fair accuracy where they may come from. For example, yes ma'am, thank you miss. Cultural protocol of southern US. People of Oriental and Asian cultures often bow to greet one another. Westerners generally shake hands when greeting others. Some cultures, like some Middle Eastern and European cultures, will kiss the cheek and embrace. These same cultures may spit when disgusted at someone or something. Some cultures have unique hand gestures to relay a message or emotion. And some cultures in the Orient and in Canada require people remove their shoes at the door upon entering their homes. In 1789, Olaudah Equiano, an Igbo and former slave who lived in London, said in his autobiography that the Igbos were one of the lost tribes of Israel, and cited the many identical cultural similarities between them and the Jews, which is the exact same thing we are going to do today, okay? Cite some cultural similarities between, the Igbos, the Igbos and the Yorubas, okay, because that's when those are the ones that I am more familiar with. But you also have some other cultural similarities with the other, West African tribes, like for example the Bantus, the Lembas, so on and so forth. Other African tribes that their line goes back to Israel. But for the one I'm familiar with, I'm only just doing Igbo and Yoruba, okay. But continuing on. Missionaries, when they came to Nigeria, were dumbfounded to discover when they came to evangelize the Igbo people that the Igbos practiced many Hebraic/Jewish customs which they could not have learned from anywhere else. It had come from ancient practice of their people from antiquity. For they had no Bibles and met no one with a Bible until the missionaries came along. And let's also not forget that they are actually there were actually Hebrew writings in some of the chief houses in these tribe, among the tribes. Okay, but continuing on, they found that the Igbos practiced eating of animals that meets the biblically clean requirements, as well as the complete draining of blood from the animals, as well as other laws concerning kashrut. Okay, and this is going into the law where it talks about how when you kill an animal, you have to dig a hole, drain the blood, and pour the blood in the hole. Let me see if I can find that precept. Let me see if I can find that precept. You have to get me. I'm trying to figure out you have to get that precept. Oh yeah, let me just use this one instead. Let me just use this one instead. Okay. So this is the book of Leviticus 17 verse 13. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust. Like I said, you drain the blood into a hole and you bury it. Basically, you cover up the blood with dust. The same thing you do when you are trying to, ease yourself. Basically, you take a piece of you take a shit on the because I believe how the scripture go that the Most High walks among the people of Israel and he does not want to see you know basically basically any unclean sight. Okay, so now continue on Leviticus 17 verse 4. For it is the life of all flesh, the blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, ye shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off. Okay, and there are so much and there is so much more. Okay, so many more. So all these customs that are ultimately go back to the scriptures, goes back to the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, and there is no other explanation for how our people, okay, the Igbos, which make up a majority of the Jakes that are scattered, Jakes that are in Babylon the Great right now, but how they know all these customs except they be the people. As it is written, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirits that we are the sons of the Most High Yahweh Basham Yahushai, okay? And because, even though we had forgotten our heritage, the Most High had not, completely cast us off and cast us away, which is why He left, which is why, even though we had been discontinued from our heritage, even though we are under the curses, even though we are basically worshipping idol gods, in these other lands, we still had some of the customs, okay? We still had some idea of who we were as a people and follow some of the customs that we performed in the Holy Land, which is the same thing that happened with the Northern Kingdom as well. Because if you go into the book of Esdras, it talks about that how after they had after the Northern Kingdom, okay, during the time of the Assyrians, right? I believe it was Shalmaneser. After they had been scattered, after they had fled all the way to the Americas, and they decided to continue to keep the customs, in the Americas. Let me see if I can get that. Which of course they did do that, okay, to an extent at the very least. But at the end of the day, even the scriptures say that we would ultimately have been, not just discontinued from our heritage, but also fall under the curses. So no matter what our people did, we had already, we still had to pay the price for the wickedness, therefore, for going off and going against the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High Yahweh Basham Yahushai. Okay, that should be in the book of Esdras. Esdras. Okay, let me try to remember how it goes now. To keep, I think it was the customs which they had not kept in their own land, something like that. Here it is. Right, so let's start from the top. Hmm. No, let me start from here. Second Ezra 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hoshea the king, whom Salmanezar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. If I remember correctly, another land in the Hebrew should be Ashtoreth. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce it probably in the Paleo Hebrew, so you have to bear with me, but basically what this is talking about is the northern kingdom and how they were carried out of the Holy Land, and forced to basically forced to flee the Holy Land by the Assyrian Empire at that time. But continuing on, Second Esdras 13 verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they should leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the rivers. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For though that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Ashtoreth. Okay, and this is of course going into the northern kingdom, which is why we see that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians all go back to the people of Israel, because even the Native Americans and the Latinos, the original people of the Americas, okay, the first people to come and inhabit the Americas, they are the northern kingdom of the house of Israel, and they too also share in all these customs that I'm about to read to you, okay? Because all of our people kept one or more of these customs in all the lands that they were scattered in, okay? Because, like I also read in the book of Romans, even though we were Gentiles without the law, we became a law unto ourselves because we still had some, deep in, because basically we had some laws that were theological, some laws that are written in their hearts. Each of our people have some of the laws that are in these scriptures that basically we just keep instinctively. But continuing on, um, you have some other bullet points going into the customs. Okay, we're already going into eating of clean animals and draining the blood, because the custom of not drinking blood. Okay, the use of ritual washings like unto mikvah, washing of hands before and after meals, has a concept of clean and unclean, acceptable and abominable, or taboo. Of course, you can also go into that as well. What is clean, what is unclean, and the customs that you have to keep. Okay, basically, if you become unclean, you're unclean until the next day. You have to watch yourself and stay, I think it was outside of the congregation until you become clean the next day. Okay, animal sacrifice like unto the Levitical sacrificial system, belief in a supreme all-powerful deity, which is Chukwu Chineke. That's how you say the name of the Lord, the name of the Lord in Igbo. Okay, above all other deities. Circumcision on the eighth day, as well as had the naming ceremony of the 8-day-old child, which of course I was going into as well, the custom of circumcision that goes all the way back to Abraham. And we did do this as a people, okay? You will have records going into it about how they had more circumcised slaves during the transatlantic slave trade and the actual slave masters that were Christians, okay? Once again, it's because it was the covenant of our people, that whole circumcision with the covenant that our forefather Abraham made with the Most High, Yahweh Basham Yahushai. All right, continue on. Giving names that bear the name or the title of the Most High God within it. And that's why you have a lot of names in the Hebrew that have Yah, Yahweh, okay, or rather Yah, it is the short form, he in it, Yashaya, Yahawada, not Yahawashai Shah, because Yahawashai does not, the name of the Most High is not in Yahawashai. You know, um, there are some other names as well, okay. Can't remember all the names, my Akiala, names, so on and so forth, okay. You have, the Elohim, Alahayam, you have Yahweh, all the names going into the Most High, okay. And even in the Igbo as well, you also have the same thing, where majority of the names are, basically referring to the Most High, thank the Most High, okay. The Most High are giving, thank the Most High are giving you this, a gift from the Lord. There are different names, in Igbo going into that, Chibueze, which is basically which is basically a Malachi in the Hebrew. I think that is a Malakaya or something like that, which is the Most High is King. That's what Chibueze means, Daluchuku, that's your Hawada right there. Thank you, God. Okay, so on and so forth, And continuing on, separation of menstruating women. And this is also another custom that goes back to the scriptures, part of the law, where basically any woman that is in her cycle, right, her menstrual cycle is unclean throughout the period that she's in her menstrual cycle. And let's get that. Let me see if I can get that. I don't know. I don't know where that preset is at. Here it is. Here it is. So this is a book of Leviticus 15, verse 19, and it reads, "And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. And if it be on her bed, or on anything whereon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the evening." There you go. And there you go. Another custom right there, going back to the scriptures. And these are all things that are, that the people of, the people of West Africa, okay, specifically in this case, the Igbo people, okay, and the Yoruba people as well, because they did have some of these customs, and I know that for a fact, okay. They did have these customs as well, because if you say that to some people here in Nigeria right now, they won't agree. But the Igbo and the Yoruba people are basically the same people. Okay, when we continue on, you know, when we continue on, that's what I was saying. Yeah, separation of menstruating women. Ada or Ada, the name of the second woman mentioned in the Bible after Eve. Let's go to that. Genesis 4:19-20. And I believe that should be one of the sons of, sorry, not sons, but daughters of, here it is, Genesis 4, verse 19. "And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah." Okay, let's get this word Ada in the Hebrew and see what it means. Because if you go into Hebrew, okay, the word Ada is basically the name that you give to the first daughter, okay? The first daughter that you give birth to, you know? Kind of like Okpara. But anyway, Ada, and it means ornaments. The first of the 2 wives of Lamech, the mother of Jabal and Jubal. And the word is Ada. It goes back to the to pass on, advance, go on, pass by, remove. To pass on, put on, to remove. Okay. And let's continue on, to continuing on Ada, we've already gone into that. The keeping of the lunar calendar, which is basically going into the new moon and the full moon representing the months. Okay, that should be the book of Wisdom of Solomon. I forget the exact chapter, but it tells you about how And of course, right now in this kingdom, you actually follow the solar cycle, which goes back to sun worship. But the original, our original customs as Hebrew Israelites is to follow the lunar calendar, okay, and using the moon to dictate the months and the weeks, okay, and basically the seasons and even the high holy days as well. And you know what? You have to get that precept. I have to get that precept because man, that's a beautiful precept to read right there. A light that decreaseth in her perfection. Let's get that. I wonder how if the moon isn't its own light, but rather the moon is actually reflecting the light of the sun. I wonder how you get new moons, half moons, and full moons if the moon isn't a light source in and of itself, like the scriptures say. Ecclesiasticus 43, verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feasts, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. And the moon is basically, like the scriptures say, a declaration of times and seasons. That's how you basically, by using the moon cycles, you can tell the time, the month, the year, so on and so forth. Even to the day as well. Okay, continue on. Shemitah and Jubilee years, the annulment of debt and servitude every 7 and 50 years. The concept of a lifetime servant, Odibo, that is in Deuteronomy 15 to 12 to 14. I believe it goes back to the custom of, if let's just go and get that. Let's just go and get that, just bring it out, okay? Because I'm going through this right now, okay? Because you have some people out there that once again, this is why you must. This is why if you want to actually understand what's in the scriptures, you go to a man of the Lord. Okay, you don't ask these Egyptologists, you don't ask these Christians, you don't ask these people that don't even know the scriptures, that have no idea what they are talking about, because these are just some of the. These are just like 5 or 6 of the customs that go back to the scriptures and only go back to the scriptures which our people followed. Okay, of course, being both the of course, in this case, in this case, the Igbo people, but you can also do a video about the customs that the northern kingdom had, and other different tribes that go back to that go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that go back to the Israelites, that go back to our people. Okay, now continuing on, Deuteronomy 15 verse 12. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. That's basically, custom that is still done to this day, okay, here in Nigeria. But you have, I forget how they call it, wow boy, yeah. We have Igbo people, doing it. And even my father did this as well, where you have you take some of the some of your own people, and they serve under apprenticeship, right? They learn the trade, and after 7 years, you let them go. You give them their settlements, right? And let them start their own, business basically. Okay, it's mainly done by businessmen. They stay under you. They learn the trade, after a while, you let them go. You give them a little money to start their own thing, and with that, they start their families. Okay, and start their lives basically. But continuing on, Deuteronomy 15, verse 13. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith Yahweh thy power hath blessed thee, thou shalt give him. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, and Yahweh thy power redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee and thine house, because he is well with thee, then thou shalt take an awl and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservants thou shalt do likewise. And basically, this is how you take servants of your people, okay, your fellow brother, which of course not really any need to follow this custom anymore, because in the kingdom you won't have any Israelite servants, because they will all be kings and priests, right? So basically, you won't have to worry about this law anymore. okay? Because all the servants will have is the heathen. How does that go? Thou shalt have the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost part of the earth for thy possession. That is Psalms, the second chapter. Now continue on. Burying their dead facing east, the direction of Jerusalem and the promised land, burying their dead as quickly as possible. Sitting Shiva, 7 day mourning period when one sits on low stools, remains unkempt, and shave their heads in grief. And that's something that a lot of evil people do here. And that's something that we actually do, especially the widow. Okay, when when the husband of a woman dies, she shaves her head. She goes into grief. There is a period to grieve. Okay, all black and all that. Belief in resurrection, which is reincarnation. I've actually done a video on this before. That both Igbo and Yoruba people, okay, the brother Yashalam from the, I think he's from the main camp, right? GMS Watchmen. He also did a video on this as well. Like Yoruba people also believe in reincarnation as well, and Igbo people do as well, and not in the way that these Moabites and Ammonites do, where if you reincarnate from a human to a bug to a cow to a donkey to another animal, but rather when you reincarnate, okay, you come back in your lot in the line of your fathers, okay, and you don't reincarnate from male to female or female to male. You reincarnate from male to male in your own family line, okay, which is why you have a lot of times where you have children that are named after their parents, okay, named after dead, deceased relatives, and this is all throughout the custom of our people, okay, because of their reincarnation. Now continuing on, send the bodies home of Igbos who die outside of Igbo land to be buried, like Joseph and Jacob desiring not to be buried in pagan or foreign land, which is of course something that people do a lot. In fact, my grandfather, you know, all my dead relatives, they are buried in our ancestral home back in the village, right? Because of this custom right here. Okay. We have we have sepulchres and everything. Not really sepulchres, but you can get what I'm saying, have a place, in your ancestral home where you bury all your dead relatives basically. Okay. Now continuing on. Lengthy funeral ceremonies such as found in Genesis 51 to 3, which is going into the death of Jacob, right? The death of Jacob, okay. Preference of inheritance and leadership was given to the firstborn and passed down through the fathers, just like it was in the scriptures. Sung prior to and carried a type of ark into battle when they went into war. Hospitalities like unto the traditions, legends know of Abraham offering water, meal, and lodging to travelers. The Yam festival is like unto the Feast of Weeks, and the Ovala festival is like unto the Feast of Tabernacles. Conversation and deliberates among men and leaders, like that of rabbis and students in yeshiva. Levirate type marriages, brothers marrying deceased brothers' wives to carry on the brother's name. Okay, and if you remember that parable that our Lord Yahushua, that the Sadducees, I believe, gave to our Lord Yahushua, how if one man married a wife, right, and the man died, and the wife was passed on to the brother and passed onward like that through 7 brothers, okay, in the resurrection, in the regeneration, in the resurrection, right, whose wife are they? And our Lord Yahushua answered, saying that, in the resurrection, they are like unto angels, neither marrying or giving into marriage. In other words, they have those spiritual bodies, so they don't have any sex, okay, in the heavens, of course, which completely debunks the Nephilim idea that, oh, well, they are actually half angel, half human, okay, because even the scriptures tell you that first and foremost, the angels don't have sex, and secondly, there is no crossbreeding between angels and humans, okay. And of course, I'm just breezing right through these right now, But I'm sure you can already, and you are quite already get the point. Okay, you see all the customs that go back to the scriptures. You see all the customs that of our people that go back to the scriptures, and you can also do a video about this for the Northern Kingdom as well. But this is my area of expertise right here, and I don't want to go over and beyond and do something I'm not really too sure of. But for this one, I'm setting off all these customs, all these customs, set up all these customs among our people because I've seen most of them firsthand, okay, and I've heard other people discuss them as well. So I can actually testify that this actually happens. I can actually give examples of them, okay. But now continuing on, marriage negotiations, onye akaibe between families, like onto the story of Isaac and Rebekah, polygamy, a type of cities of refuge where an Igbo who commits a crime can seek refuge in his mother's natal home, known in Igbo as Ikunne. Yeah, this is actually happens too. But yeah, it's actually happens too. You're well, no, let me not even go into that one right now, okay? Basically, you see all the customs that are similar to what's written up in the scriptures. And I actually breezed through a lot of them, but of course, all these ones, the ones that I breezed through actually go without saying. Marriage negotiations, polygamy, the idea of giving a bride price, right? Polygamy goes without saying, okay? Or continuing on, shunning of those who willingly break Igbo laws, shunning of those who marry outside of the Igbo people, laws against sexual perversion, incest, and the like. They had to marry among their people, but outside their immediate tribal clan. Justice and punishment for certain crimes following the lines of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. The rule of Torah, the law, was developed and was passed down by Eri. No jails or penal system, rite of passage into adulthood. Governance of the people by a conglomerate of tribal elders and judges prior to the institution of kingship dynasties. The coronations of kings have rituals and customs that closely remember that of the coronations of the kings of Judah and Israel. Symbolic attire and accessories of the kings and elders closely resemble that of kings and tribal leaders of Judah and Israel. Igbo idioms are very much alike and carry similar meanings as Solomon's book of Proverbs. And here in Igbo land, they don't really wear the fringes like that. But the Yorubas wear the fringes. The Native Americans and the Mexicans, these Latinos also wear the fringes as well. But we, in the Igbo, we didn't really wear the fringes like that. Okay, but that's also part of our customs as well. But you can't keep all the customs. Like I said, we were discontinued from our heritage. But that's it right there. And that's it right there. With majority of the customs that was the majority of this a an example of the customs that we the Igbo people kept that were similar to what is found in the scriptures. So with that, I'll end the video right here. Just had to go through a list of that just to show, okay, because you have to understand that when somebody comes up and says we have something that the Hebrew Israelites can't speak, there's something that the Hebrew Israelites can't answer. We have something that disproves the Hebrew Israelite doctrine. You have to understand that what they are saying is false, and basically what they are trying to do is they're trying to bring up, bring up a doctrine or a philosophy that has already been disproven, debunked, and shown to be completely and wholly off. Okay, so with that, I'll end the video right there. All praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahawashai, Ba'asham Raka Kwadash, Wa Abad Babal, Wa Abad Babal, and through the spirits, I help you act on your edified. Shalom.